If we're thinking about being missional in the everyday, we've got to think about things that we do and that our culture does and how we can overlap them while seeking opportunities to point people to Jesus. Recreate is another rhythm that we have in our lives and our culture has in their lives. And what I mean by this is three things. There are three rhythms that recreate encapsulates: rest, play, and creativity. These all bring about some form of restoration, and our culture does all of them. Rest, well, there are endless amounts of spas and retreat spaces and holiday resorts, and people just generally thinking about their next holiday. Creativity, there are the arts, there's music, there's literature, and we experience creativity through the creative world. And then there's play. People play all the time, whether it's board games or cricket or knitting or soccer, whatever it is, we play all of the time. The problem with this is although they bring about some form of restoration, they don't bring about entire restoration. Over 60% of Australia's working population is burning out. So as people empowered by the Spirit, with gospel-centered recreate rhythms, how can we overlap our rest and play and creativity with our culture who are seeking for restoration? And I don't mean to the detriment of our rest and our play and our creativity, but I mean in a way that we can bring the light and the lightness of the gospel into their situation. The way we rest and play and experience creativity might not look different to the world around us, but it is because of the gospel. We don't have to find our rest by scrolling our phones or waiting for our next big holiday, because Jesus said, "Come to me and I will give you rest." And so we come to him and we give ourselves over to him. We lay our lives down to him and we find rest in him. He said, "It is finished. The work is done." And this isn't just eye rest. This is soul rest, true rest. And the same is true for play. We don't have to experience shame of being silly anymore. We can go and laugh and play and kick a ball around and just have fun. And for creativity, we see the world very differently through the lens of the gospel. We frame God in. This is like David in Psalm 8. He looks at the stars, but then he sees how that relates to us and how we relate to God. He says, "When I look at the heavens, the moon and the stars which you have set in place, what is mankind that you are mindful of them? And the Son of Man that you would care for him?" And it brings him to a point of praise. How majestic is your name in all the earth. So for us, the beauty on a bushwalk, the colours in a painting, the melody and the harmonies of music, we hear them and see them the same way that the world does, but then we frame God in. We see a God who created the world in bursts of colour, a genius God who created sounds that overlap and intertwine in a way that make us feel something. There is a reason people love creativity, and it's because it is a shadow of what they're really looking for. And bringing people along in that, in the rest, in the play, in the experience of creativity, they will get to see how you frame God in, how you see the world differently to them, and how you communicate that, how God becomes a part of your everyday life, about the decisions you make, the things you share. And because you're doing that among people that you see regularly, among people that you overlap with regularly, they'll see that it's not just something you talk about. It is something that you truly believe and has ingrained into every part of your lives. So here are two questions to think about with this rhythm of recreate and our missionary identities in Christ. Firstly, what are we showing people? Are we showing people a work-driven, busy, overwhelming life? Or are we showing people a gospel-driven, Christ-centric life of rest and play and freedom? And secondly, think about some people that you have seen live that out well. Some people who have lived out Christ-centered rest and play and creativity, and how might you add that into your rhythms?